Next week, a lot of data coming out. We've got, of course, expecting third quarter GDP figures for Nigeria. We contracted by 6.1%, of course, in the second quarter. We'll also have the Monetary Policy Committee, who's going to be meeting on the 23rd on Monday. Benchmark interest rate right now is at 11.5%. Will they hold? Will they hike? Will they cut? What can we expect? So joining us to discuss this, to give us a little preview, is DAMILOLA AKINLABI, Head of Research at Financial Derivatives Company Limited. DAMILOLA, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Starting with Q3 GDP, what can we expect from the figures that we hope to be released next week?
The Q3 numbers are likely to be an improvement from the second quarter. And by an improvement, I'm talking about a possible minus 4.8 to 4.9% growth rate. And why is this going to happen? In Q3, we know that there was a reopening of a lot of business activities. We saw a lot of industries resume operations. And also in the third quarter, we noticed that international flights also commenced operations. And aside from this point, there's also a positive correlation between oil prices and GDP growth rates. And we know that in Q3, average oil prices were higher by about 30% to an average of about $43 per barrel compared to the second quarter, which saw an average of about $33. So we expect that Q3 numbers will be an improvement compared to Q2, but it still be in negative territory. And if you even extend the time frame into Q4 usually, the fourth quarter is usually the quarter that records the fastest growth rates due to increased consumer spending on year-end activities. But this year is going to be different. One, obviously, because of the COVID pandemic. Two, the NSAS protests and the fallout which occurred in October. We've seen supply chain disruption. So Q4 numbers too are going to be around that minus 4.9, maybe minus 5% trend, and which will put full year growth to about minus 3.5. And even in a worst case scenario, we may see the GDP growth for Nigeria for full year even reach minus 7 or minus 9%. Bearing in mind also, oil prices have dropped sharply so far in Q4, trading about an average of $41 per barrel. So that's what we're going to be looking at. So Q3, Q4 numbers are going to be an improvement compared to the second quarter, but they'll still be in negative territory.
All right, thank you for that, Dami. What about the sectors? What sectors of the economy do you think will grow? Which sectors do you think will contract?
Well, the usual suspects. So in terms of the sectors that are going to expand, we're going to be looking at telecommunications, information and communications sector. Also going to be looking at financial services. These are sectors that have benefited from the virtual working and remote working that is occurring. And in terms of the sectors that are going to keep contracting, we're going to be looking at the likes of real estate, education, even trade, because again, like I mentioned earlier, the supply chain disruptions and even the restrictive forex policies the CBN has adopted of late has really affected trade and even manufacturing. Some other sectors to watch, agric is very important. Q3 is the peak of the harvest season. But during that period also, there was flooding, even up to early fourth quarter, flooding in some of the key food belt areas in Nigeria. So that obviously would affect output of the agricultural sector. If you also look at construction, that's a sector to watch because we've seen increased government focus on civil works and construction. So these sectors, even if they are still in negative territory, for instance, construction grew at almost minus 30% in the second quarter. We should see an improvement because of this increased government focus, but it will still be in negative territory. So these are some of the sectors we're going to be, we should watch out for. And bear in mind that these sectors, most of the contracting sectors are labor intensive and they're also job elastic. So obviously the impact of the NSAS and the fallout, the COVID have impacted the sectors negatively. And if these sectors are contracting, it will also affect the employment levels. And if you have a situation where unemployment rate is increasing and inflation too is rising, that means your misery index, which looks at your inflation, unemployment, and underemployment rates, the misery index is going to keep increasing. And when you have a situation where the people are more miserable, it's actually a recipe for further public outbursts.
Very in-depth there, Dami. Thank you so much. Let's move to the Monetary Policy Committee. They're meeting next week, the 23rd, Monday. What do you think is going to be on their radar as they gather together?
The front-burning issues will be obviously rising inflation rate, which is at a 32-month high. of 14.23%. Growth numbers we just talked about. We have contracting growth. We also have exchange rate pressures and the volatility in the exchange rate, considering the fact that forex supply has dwindled significantly since the start of the year. So these are some of the issues the Monetary Policy Committee of the CBN is going to be considering. And bear in mind that at the last meeting in September, the MPC actually, in a surprise move, reduced the monetary policy rate by 100 basis points to 11.5% and also adjusted the asymmetric corridor. So definitely they're going to be, what's going to be on their mind, okay, what is the most appropriate response to this twin challenge of rising inflation and exchange rate pressures amid the contracting growth environment. So these are some of the key issues that they will be considering.
All right. So with that being said, with everything you've laid out, and this might be too early for me to be asking you this, but still I'll ask anyway, what do you think the outcome will be, since you said it surprised us at the last meeting in September?
Well, bear in mind that this is going to be the last meeting for the year. And with everything, if we look at what is playing out now with the way the economic picture is currently, the probability of them maintaining status quo is very high. And also the rationale for that is that we want to at least allow for a tangible impact of the policy actions that they made in September to actually take effect on economic indicators and economic agents. So it's most likely that they're going to maintain status quo. And if you look at even other African countries, most of them have actually kept their interest rates or the policy stance the way it is, and especially even as you round up the year. So it's highly unlikely that it will make any major adjustments. But we may see more forex restrictions. We know that the CBN has released so many memos restricting the way customers transfer dollars between themselves, between domiciliary accounts. So we may see more of that, and that would obviously have a significant impact on the economy, most especially even the manufacturing sector. You know, Nigeria is a highly import-dependent economy, and the manufacturing sector right now, what we're seeing, if you go to a lot of stores, you would see that most shelves for some imported items are bare. And that's because, obviously, bringing in these goods have become very expensive. So you're going to be seeing a lot of shortages. And that would push a shift towards locally produced goods. And if people are consuming more of these locally produced goods, that would increase the demand for them and also prices. So again, you would see consumer prices increase.
Wow. Thank you, Dami. Okay, I only got a minute to go. I'm trying to end on something positive. Can we return to growth in 2021? And it's going to be based on oil prices. In a minute, if you can.
Yes, so partly, yes, oil prices. So if oil prices recover, definitely will impact positively on growth. Aside from that, we're also going to be looking at the global recovery, because obviously because of global trade and investment. So if there's a recovery in the global economy, that should lead to a boost in investment. And also, if we see increased focus on key sectors such as agriculture, such as construction, and trying to bridge the infrastructure gap, that will impact on the economy, and most importantly, having the right mix of policy measures, both structural, fiscal, and monetary. And we should see growth return to positive territory of about 1.2-1.5% in 2021.
All right. DAMILOLA AKINLABI, Head of Research at Financial Derivatives Company Limited. Thank you so much for taking us through what to expect with Q3 GDP figures and the MPC Monetary Policy Committee meeting holding next week with the Central Bank. DAMILOLA, thank you so much for your insights.